Welcome to my show. I'm with a guest here. Her name is Sharon Surita. Mrs. Sharon, how are you doing, ma?
I am just fine. Thank you, Timmy. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much, Mrs. Sharon. Firstly, you are an environmental engineer. You're also a certified functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, and you are also a detoxification expert. Can you please, ma, Mrs. Sharon, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, ma?
Absolutely. Thank you for that. That question is a very important one because what you first said that I'm an environmental engineer. I received my PhD many years back, but I encountered my own health journey when I had a surgery, and it's a hernia repair surgery where they implanted a hybrid mesh. And I wasn't aware that that was going to be the process, but essentially that surgery left me disabled, bedbound, very, very, very sick to the point where I had to step away from all of my career and even housekeeping, like for my own home, raising my two children, and all the things that come along with just life in general. And that disability, it took me several years to kind of resume some type of function, and I really had to let go of conventional, like the hold on conventional medicine, because I knew that wasn't serving me. And that's where I turned to functional health and functional diagnostic nutrition.
Oh, that's a very, very inspiring story. Thank you so much, Mrs. Sharon. And have you written any book, in terms of this experience and this detoxification, or are you planning to write a book in the coming future, Mrs. Sharon?
Yes, sir. Thank you for asking that as well. I've been working on a book for several years, but it's going to be mostly towards addressing implant illness, and that's to cover like the entire slew of implants. So some people have, like I did, hernia mesh, which is usually a plastic or synthetic mesh. Some people have hip replacement surgery, even dental implants such as amalgam fillings or root canals that can cause detrimental impacts to the human body, especially for people who are more susceptible to having these type of chemical sensitivities. So the book is going to go over some of my story, some of the research that I've come across, and then of course highlight on some of the clinical findings that I've found where people are able to improve again their health by practicing the proper form of detoxification and changing their overall diet and lifestyle to get that improved function.
All right. Thank you so much, Mrs. Sharon. And I would like to dive more to the point of detoxification, ma. Detoxification could be something that, some of the listeners might not really, really know what it's all about. In your own terms and in your own understanding, can you please, ma, Mrs. Sharon, tell us what detoxification is and why you personally think it is important for maintaining our overall health, ma?
Yeah, Timmy, that's such a great question because when people think detox, generally they see things on social media, TikTok videos or Instagram reels, and they just think that it's something they should do quarterly or even annually. And some people have a visual of it being very aggressive, like going on an all water fast or doing a juice cleanse. And that's really not what it's about. It's really a bio individual thing to look at. So when I think of detox, or detoxification. It's the body's natural process of like eliminating or removing these toxins that we're taking in on a daily basis. So these things can come from external sources like pollution. We have our chemicals in food. We know that with farming practices, there's a lot of chemicals being introduced that way. Also, our personal care products. Most people they don't really look at what's included in there in the list of ingredients. And if you look at the products, it's quite scary because we can't pronounce half of the words on there. They're definitely not natural. They're synthetic, and there's been long-term studies on some of these chemicals, right? They've been banned from certain countries. In the United States, not so many. So our restrictions on chemical use are a lot more lenient, we'll say, here. So I really hope that like federally and across the board, country to country, that we can start looking at this more as trying to be on a stake to a natural, more holistic type of manufacturing process, because there's numerous studies now showing how these toxins are impacting like our endocrine systems, our reproductive systems, and just hormones in general. So our bodies, they're naturally built to be able to detoxify, but again, not at the magnitude that we're getting into in terms of the number of exposures we have. And that, I mean, I could just briefly mention, we have our liver, which processes and breaks down toxins for safe elimination. The kidneys, we know that filters the blood and removes waste for excretion through urine, right? And then our lungs, like everyone breathes 20,000 breaths a day or something like that, give or take, depending on how quickly you breathe. And the people that are in higher stress actually take more breaths. So think about all the toxins that are coming in through our respiratory system. And then two other mechanisms of removal is through the skin when we sweat, and in the colon, of course, when we have bowel movements regularly, we're regularly excreting that waste. So I don't know if that answers the question if about detoxification, but I think that's what I would like to say on that piece.
Yes, Mrs. Sharon, it definitely answered, the question, Mrs. Sharon. Thank you so much for the answer. And I also want to go to habits. Habits someone can do every single day when it comes
Mm,
to the body natural detoxification, ma. What do you
yes.
think are some simple everyday habits that that can support the body natural detoxification, Mrs. Sharon?
Yes, yes. And there are things that everyone can do primarily. So those things we want to begin with hydration, right? Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Water is so essential for flushing the toxins again through your kidneys. We want to aim for at least what people say, like half the body weight in ounces. Some people require a lot more depending on any chronic conditions they're going through. For example, dysautonomia or impaired autonomic nervous systems, they might have a lower capacity to retain like salts. And so when we think of hydration, it's not just water, it's also adding in high quality sea salt or maybe electrolytes. And you can make your own at home using things like potassium citrate. And I like to add magnesium citrate as well for digestive health. Squeeze of lemon. Some people can add a pinch of stevia if they want a little sweeter taste. But that's one thing. And then you can always opt for what some manufacturers like some good quality electrolytes. I like Elementi or Element, and there's several that people can look up. Just make sure it's a good quality and it's been tested for heavy metals and things like that. The other thing besides that, I focus on proper nutrition. So eating a nutrient-dense diet. I'm a huge advocate for increasing cruciferous vegetables. These are known to help detoxify the liver, especially like recirculating old hormones. If we're consuming these cruciferous vegetables, there's a certain compound in them. I won't get into the biochemistry of it all, but things like broccoli, cauliflower, kale, bok choy is another good one, Brussels sprouts, all of those can help support the liver health. And I think another one that people can relate to is increasing fiber. So fiber usually does help promote bowel regularity. And in some cases, people might not tolerate the whole grains or they may be on a grain-free diet. So then another option is to make sure you're getting maybe lower glycemic fruits in there and plenty of vegetables, also seeds. These all help to promote that daily bowel movement that we need to have. And then yeah, one other piece that you can add in is like antioxidant-rich foods, berries and green tea. There's certain what do you call like additives or seasonings, turmeric, for instance, to combat what we know as oxidative stress. So we want to balance that oxidative stress and antioxidation so that our bodies can repair and recover. And that's just one thing, but with the nutrition piece, I always advise working with a practitioner because there are so many people that deal with food sensitivities. And for instance, green tea and the turmeric, both for me are no-nos because I have an intolerance to oxalates. And when I learned this the hard way, you experience pretty severe pain when you have oxalates lodging into your tissues and your body's trying to either excrete it, but it holds onto it in the tissues. And that could be quite painful for people who don't know that they have oxalate sensitivities. So that's just a caveat there when in terms of some of the dietary recommendations I just said. Um, I can list a few more things that people can do. Of course, movement, optimized movement. And so this spans a wide variety of things. Some people are not very mobile because of chronic illness. So the thing that I like to emphasize here is working with again, a physical therapist or even family member or friend that can help you get that movement. If you are mobile, if you're able to stand up, walking, yoga, resistance training is one of my favorite. Even for those wheelchair bound, you can do upper body movements. You want to get the lymph moving in the body. You don't want it to stagnate and keep the toxins there. And then along with that, I can go. There's so many things like restful, prioritizing restful sleep, not just getting 6 hours of sleep. Like we want to aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. Have a pretty strict bedtime routine so that our bodies can adapt and know when melatonin is needed. I think that's one of the things people struggle with. They don't realize that the standardizing your bedtime is really essential along with the wake up time. Like you want to have that set so that the body knows how to regulate the melatonin.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Sharon. And there will definitely be mistake people normally do when they are trying to detoxify, Mrs. Sharon. What do you think are the common mistake people make when trying to detox, Mrs. Sharon?
Yeah, this one I would say is
Yes.
going too fast. Definitely, again, when you don't have the resources or the information, you think that detoxification is something you can just take on and have your body back to good as normal and within a week or so of doing this detoxification. And in some cases, people are doing things. Maybe they're bringing on products. They haven't really no idea how it's going to impact their own bodies because they're just going by the word of someone else or they're going by what they've seen in a reel, and it really impacts everyone differently. So I think that the mistake here is not doing the functional lab testing that a person needs to really understand what's going on in their body, what to focus on, and how to best support the body, with proper supplementation and not just throw something at it causing, if you don't have the proper, for instance, a binder on board while you're doing detox, you might actually just be recirculating these toxins and not really getting rid of them. So that makes it worse. You want to be able to mobilize these toxins and move them out of the body and make sure you're targeting, kind of like a top-down approach.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Sharon. And from your experience, due to the recent years, your personal story and experience, you will definitely have some success story where detoxification significantly improved someone's health. Probably it might be your client, it could be your friend, or it could be your
Mhm.
colleague, Mrs. Sharon. Can you please, ma, share a success story where you think detoxification significantly improved someone's health, ma?
Yes. So here again, it's with someone similar to my condition. They had had a hernia repair surgery. Their mesh was different and in a different location. So again, I mentioned my mesh was a hybrid. Theirs was a polypropylene mesh, so fully synthetic material. And they couldn't approach it the way I did in terms of explanting, like getting the mesh removed. So we really worked on supporting the body, and it becomes a lifelong process, though. Like even for people who have an explant, we know that we're getting this exposure on a day-to-day basis. So when we worked together, we started off with eliminating the products at home for use. Like we didn't want to overburden the body. It was already at its capacity, what we call the toxin bucket overload. So I wasn't going to jump in directly with detox practices. What we did was eliminate whatever toxins were being introduced within the home. So a clean sweep of the personal care products, really a deep dive into how they were cooking, what materials they were using for cooking, and the foods that they were bringing in, organic whenever possible, grass-fed. If you were using animal products, grass-fed, free range, that kind of thing. So this person really worked on that piece. We worked on eating according to her metabolic typing, which means like balancing out the proper amount of protein and carbohydrates and fats that she needed to be taking in for the proper energy production, which is critical to being able to detox. Like we need the energy, we need to be able to have cellular function so that every piece of the body is working optimally, especially as you're working to excrete these toxins. So we looked at that. We definitely, I mentioned detox comes in many forms. So in the sleep routine, we need restorative sleep, and our body goes through like liver cleansing and all of this kidney cleansing while we're sleeping. So optimizing her sleep was really pivotal for her healing. That boosted neurotransmitters, it boosted her health, her emotional health, her mental health, and then the movement piece. She was not, luckily, she was not as limited in mobility as I was, nor many of the clients I do work with. So she was able to get out and do her daily walks. Again, flushing the lymph with movement and with sweat daily. That was what she opted for primarily, was a daily walk. She did do some weight training periodically. And then the supplementation piece, which is a piece that people might jump to first, but it's actually should be like the last step because it's going to support. We don't want a supplement to be the way nutrition is taken in, but it's there to support. And so we approached it by looking at her gut health using a stool test, and we also looked at her hormone health using what we call as the Dutch test. And from here, we were able to see that she was having issues with protein digestion and even fat digestion. So, along with some of the other markers, we developed a full protocol. Some of the things that we used, again, was like balancing the microbiome in the gut. And I like to use a product from Biocidin Botanicals called Biocidin itself. And this is like a liquid tincture that's systemic, and it helps what we can say is like modulate the bacteria in the gut because there's certain commensal or keystone bacteria that we want to stay there in good populations, and then the bad guys we want to bring them down. We want to take them out. So that was just one of the products, along with the binders and along with certain vitamins that were kind of on a suboptimal level based on her labs. All of that stuff had her to where she could return to work full time. She was able to do the things she enjoyed. She was able to get back to working out routinely. And this came from someone who was pretty limited, like just systemic illness, not just a chronic pain, but just she had so much brain fog and fatigue that that was the most limiting things for her. And to the point where she's been able to resume her normal life. And I love seeing that when my clients are really taking in a protocol and abiding by these things like strictly to see how that transformation can take place.
That was a real success story. I'm so glad for her that she's doing fine and perfectly well today. Thank you so much, Mrs. Sharon. And several people now who could listen to this could feel like they want to start their detoxification, method. They want to start looking to get into the point of detoxification. What one piece of advice would do you think you can give to someone who wants to start their detoxification journey, ma?
I would say the most important thing is the mindset. Like, if you know you want to start the detoxification process, you know that's the next step to your healing, you have to get the mind on that. And that's going to be your goal. You don't want to waver, you don't want to backtrack. So, um, you'll be strict with your journey that's coming up, and hopefully, you're working with a health practitioner of some kind to help guide you, but also allow yourself times to process this. So, mindfulness practices throughout the day, just to keep yourself able with the ability to detach from any symptoms that you're feeling. And generally, people that are wanting to take on detox have symptoms. So, the detachment piece and the mindfulness piece, and just staying on target with the mindset, I think those three things will combined will take them very far.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Sharon. And Mrs. Sharon, there is a question I normally ask, ma. From the ancestors, from the forefathers, there are a lot of things that do exist during our ancestral time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, what do you think that thing will be, ma?
The thing that comes to mind right now is like communing with nature, getting outside, reducing exposure to technology, and getting back to nature, preferably in community. So whether that be one other person or like that's what we were designed as humans to be in community and just to get back to nature, ground barefoot on the ground, expose yourself to the sunlight, and you can see, or I know that that's something that should be part of our routine. And if everyone could do it, I know that that would improve all kinds of all aspects of their health for sure.
Yes, I completely agree. And to add on that, having connection with nature, it brings this type of calmness, like it brings this
Yes.
type of peace. Once, like, I don't think that type of peace someone could find it. I do not know, but I don't think it's something someone could find probably in the internet or stuff like that. Like nature connection, bring this inner peace, like this inner, as in, when someone is in a very quiet place, like the nature is very, very powerful. It's something that someone really, really, really needs to do. It's very, very powerful. I want to also thank you, Mrs. Sharon. It was a long journey, like a very long journey, but we actually clicked. Thank you so much, Mrs. Sharon, for speaking on detoxification. Thank you so much, ma.
Thank you, Tammy. Have a good one.
All right, ma. Bye bye.
Bye.